Welcome to Firearms Friday at the Wyoming State Museum in Cheyenne. I'm firearms historian Evan Green, and today's episode is about this particular percussion revolver. It's a Savage that about 20,000 of them were produced between 1861 and 1863. It's a 36 caliber, so it would have been termed Navy caliber in those days. And production was stopped in 1863 because it's 36 caliber, and the Union Army was stabilizing on a uniform 44 caliber, specifically in the Colt Model 1860 Army revolver. So this is kind of interesting. Again, 20,000, 13,000, about 13,000 of these were under a government contract to arm the Union soldiers. Probably cavalry, but I wouldn't take that to the bank. The remainder were for civilian sales, and apparently a significant number of the civilian sales were smuggled into the Confederacy. So both sides were using this Savage ring trigger revolver. And it's interesting because it has some really unique characteristics. Now this one's in bad shape. This is an archaeological specimen. But again, 36 caliber, 6 rounds in the cylinder, 7 1/8 inch octagon barrel, has a top strap, which was an advantage over the Colt revolver, the Colt open tops of 1860. And missing a lot of parts. Doesn't have the loading lever, missing the trigger guard, missing the grips, missing the side plate in this area. So it's a ring trigger revolver. And how this worked is this trigger here, when it was pulled back, it pulled the cylinder slightly back, rotated the cylinder to the next charge hole, and cocked the hammer. When the ring trigger was extended forward, it moved the cylinder up to mate with the back of the barrel to seal that gap and increase the ballistic efficiency. The other thing that's cool about this is the location of the nipples. And I'm going to grab another gun here in a second. Here's the Colt. Oh, this is a Colt Dragoon, but it'll suffice. About 1847, 1848 Colt Dragoon. And note that the nipples here protrude back towards the hammer and are right over the mechanism of the action. So when the cap exploded and shattered, if pieces of that cap dropped into the action, it could tie up the gun. And the only way you could clear it was to take it apart, remove this barrel wedge, pull off the barrel, pull the cylinder forward, and get those parts out of there. Sometimes you could shake them out, I guess. I have no experience with it, but sometimes you could get it back in action without disassembly. But because these nipples are forward on the cylinder, if that same thing happened, they would drop free and not tie up the action. So again, it's an interesting gun. Some people thought they call it the ugly duckling. They thought it was not an attractive revolver. And apparently it took a significant amount of practice to get used to using those two triggers, which is understandable. But again, something that modern shooters would appreciate. Look at the low angle of the barrel. The barrel is very low in line with the action, which means that there's less barrel flip when it's fired, and so consequently it's quicker to get back in action. And unfortunately, there's no provenance whatsoever. So I don't know if this was picked up in Wyoming, and if so, where, or if it was some family heirloom that traveled to Wyoming from some other point. But again, 20,000 of them, 13,000 went to the Union, and most of the others went to the Confederacy. And it's kind of an early version of a double action revolver, and obviously took some getting used to. Again, this cocked the hammer, rotated the cylinder, and then this trigger, there's another trigger right here, and that's the one that dropped the hammer to discharge the firearm. So we'll put up a picture of what this looked like when it was new. So, okay. Savage Navy revolver. Thanks for watching.